Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another quick video just to talk about the Moogle itinerant event, the Moogle Treasure Trove event that kicked off today, the 18th of May. This lasts until pretty much the installation of patch 5.3, which could be at this point sometime in July, so everyone's looking forward for things to actually do, and this is one of said things that you can actually get stuck into. It is a grind at the end of the day, but you know, some people might want to do this, some other people might be playing other games. It is what it is. So there's like only really one unique reward from this, as we've talked about in the rewards video, which is the doggo necklace, the Mamasheba necklace, neckerchief, because it is essentially a neckerchief, similar to the Unamazu one we had before. That will cost you 100 tomes. So what is the best way of getting your tomes? That's the biggest question. Now, we did a video, the last Moogle itinerant event, talking about Blue Mage, and I still think that's the fastest possible way of doing it, by spamming Aurum Vale. Now, this time around, Aurum Vale is back on that list, and you get 5 tomestones of lore for completion. So if you consider that you can do a run of Aurum Vale in about 9 minutes, that was our best sort of time, just under the 10-minute mark. 3 blue mages with ethereal mimicry with DPS stance, and 1 sort of like warrior tank, for example, who just pulls things together and you blitz them down with missile. It's pretty good, right? You're not going to find many other ways faster than that, due to the fact of how it scales and the abilities at hand. No other class in the game has those sorts of powerful abilities at low level. Now, obviously, the withdrawal for that is you need a group of people to go and do Aurum Vale as a pre-made, because you can't queue as a blue mage into any of this content. But that's easily negated by having people in an FC or etc., or even through using the party finder. I'm sure there are lots of people who are going to be attempting this and doing speed runs for these tomes, just to get them out of the way. Personally, I'm the sort of person who likes to do the grind as fast as possible in at least the most efficient way. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to have a bad time in a regular group. It just means it won't be as fast, and Aurum Vale is still a good option. A lot of people look at Aurum Vale and go, oof, it's terrible with pugs, mostly due to the fact that some people don't know how to cleanse their debuffs by eating the fruit in there, or maybe they let the stacks go too high, or there's too many adds that pull together that increases the chance of a wipe. This sort of stuff happens in pugs, but it doesn't really happen when you have a group of friends, or use the party finder for this. That's my biggest recommendation for this. Other things, if you don't want to do Aurum Vale, obviously there's lots of other options. You have to remember that Castrum Praetorium gives you 10, Meriadenum, which is the other MSQ duty, gives you 7. Now, those can be queued directly for, but what I would recommend to you is don't queue for those directly. Instead, actually just do your MSQ roulette and go on something that you want to level. You do still get the tomes as a reward from running a dungeon that's eligible if it pops up through a roulette. So this accounts for the alliance raids as well, and of course MSQ and any of the dungeons as well. Which is a really interesting point, because if I queue for an alliance raid roulette, for example, the likelihood is that I'll get paired with people doing the Ivalice raid series. Not only are people having to do it to sort of catch up with the resistance weapon series, but you also have the fact that it's part of this event. There's specifically those 3 dungeons, those Orbon Monastery, Ridorana Lighthouse, and Rabanasta. All 3 of those are actually on this event as decent rewards. So you can pretty much do a run of, I think it's Rabanasta that gives 5. Let me just double check that. Yes, you get 5 tomestones of lore, which is this event's currency, from a clear of Royal City of Rabanasta. Now, the important thing about that is Rabanasta has this really interesting synchronization with item level, i.e. it's awful. As in, you go in there and it's completely broken. The first boss, for example, Mateus, can be defeated before her adds even spawn now. The second boss, Harshmal, basically can be defeated before he even summons the golems at the end. It's kind of entertaining, honestly. The other 2 instances with the Alliance Raid series, Return to Ivalice, don't have this scaling sort of change, but this one is heavily nerfed. So if you want nothing more than just repeatedly running something over and over that's kind of anonymous and everybody pretty much does everything, and you don't have to focus too hard on anything, then the Royal City of Rabanastre is your go-to. Completely skippable cutscenes, a run that takes no more than 30 minutes really, with an okayish group, and very, very unlikely to wipe due to the fact that the level sync allows for more mistakes. Things hit for less, you do way more damage, and people have a lot more health as well as a result. There's no real weird mechanics either. There's nothing that can really instantly destroy you. There's simple mechanics that if you stood in them could kill you, but for the most part they're big enough and more forgiving enough for you to move out of them way in advance, unless you're literally just stood there watching Netflix on the other monitor and not paying attention, which could be the thing. But personally, it's my go-to for that kind of thing when no one else is online. When I have no friends around, I will run the Royal City of Rabanastre for this event, I guarantee it. Another thing you could do if you actually get decent queue times on your particular server or data center is Hidden Gorge. Hidden Gorge provides, 2 mounts, there's lots of achievements, there's PvP related achievements and titles for your grand companies. There's lots of stuff to get from that. The fact that you get 5 from a completion of a Hidden Gorge, that's not from a win of a Hidden Gorge, that's just from a completion. That's pretty good. At the time of recording this morning, nobody was actually queuing for it, which is a bit unfortunate, but I think closer to sort of like 5 o'clock, the end of the day, sort of your time, wherever you are, on whatever server you're on, should be more, filled with people wanting to do PvP. The key to actually, getting through a grind like this, as I've always said, is actually not to focus just on one thing, unless that's something you just want to do. You can burn out very easily on events like this, so a bit of variety here and there. Have a look at stuff on this list of places you can do for whatever tomes and mix it up. It might not be the most efficient way of doing it, but it's certainly going to be the most sane way of doing it. But yeah, I still think at the end of the day, a Blue Mage run of Aurum Vale is fastest. I mean, 5 tomestones for like 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes if your group's not that good, is pretty damn good and very hard to beat, even with sloppy runs. Get yourself a tank, get yourself 3 Blue Mages with Ethereal Mimicry with DPS stance, and missile the whole thing to pieces, and you will thank me later. It's so much fun. But apart from that, yeah, there's some good highlights. Stone Vigil's not too bad. That only gives 3 though, which seems a little bit of a cop-out. 3 tomestones for a Stone Vigil run does seem a little bit kind of not worth it. But they're really trying to get you to do Auburn Monastery, Ridorana Lighthouse, obviously with, we've got 7 there as well. And they're pushing Auburn Monastery with, Auburn Monastery 7, Ridorana is 6 actually, now I look at this list. So yeah, they're trying to get you through the Alliance Raid series, but at the same time, it's not the most efficient way of doing it. Now, when it comes to the rewards, we did a big glossy video looking at all the rewards in the actual game with full previews. That is on the channel. It's one of my more recent videos. Please go check that out. It's been lovely to see the views on that, but I'm sure people will find that more useful now the event's actually here. And it's a good catalog to sort of shop for what you want. If you're not sure what something looks like, perhaps, you know what something looks like, but you just want some ideas, that's a perfect video. My personal picks from this event will be the Mamashiba neckerchief, which costs 100, so I'll be busy for that. I would certainly say if you're not capable of doing Ixion on your server, because some servers simply don't camp for that in the locks anymore, definitely get the Ixion mount for 50. The mounts in general are great if you want those. The riding maps are quite worth it, 30 tomestones if you've got nothing else to go for. And the other thing I would recommend if you're a minion collector is to get Brina. We got Kalka and Brina on this list. Now Brina, as I've said before in a previous video, is an incredibly painful drop, is not market tradable, unlike Kalka, which you can purchase from the anti-tower dungeon. This will only cost you 7 tomestones, so that's like 2 runs of something or 1 run of something, and you've got yourself a minion like I did this morning. It was the top of my list, and I'm glad that they've added that. It was a small thing, but it certainly made me happy not having to deal with those horrible RNG rates. I ran anti-tower non-stop for hours without seeing anything. But yeah, I thought it'd be worthwhile just talking you through this, giving you some ideas. I want to know what you think would be the fastest run if it isn't the Blue Mage run of Aurum Vale. If you can think of anything that sort of beats 5 tomes for 10 minutes, let me know below. I will do a video with some footage of us doing that, because last time people were like, hey, I would really like some tips with that. Essentially, Ethereal Mimicry is your best friend, and so is Missile. Ethereal Mimicry basically allows for stances. So that's a really, really big deal. It increases your DPS overall, and that's how basically you get the clear times that you do. Missile is very powerful, obviously, and White Wind, you know, occasionally having a nice heal, especially with the high stacks of the pollen that you will get in one of those runs. But like I say, I'll do a video on that separately showing you how that's done. But for that and more, stay tuned, and hopefully you're enjoying this event. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time.